Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going into a little bit more depth about the patch 6.2.3 Valor changes. Now that some time has passed, we know how VP is going to be working in the patch, and it mostly is great stuff, but there are 2 points of contention, points which I will get into after the news part of this video. So, let's get into the news. There is no hard cap at all. Rather, you will eventually run out of content that can reward Valor Points during a week. So technically there is a hard cap, but you know what I mean. Mythic Dungeons give 300 VP per run, a non-pet battle weekly event gives 500 VP, the first heroic of the day gives 100, Hellfire Citadel LFR wings give 150 each, and other Warlords of Draenor raid wings on LFR difficulty give 75 each. That's a combined total of around 4,800 per week. And if you manage to get that whole amount, then damn, that's that's a lot of effort. So the item upgrades are what you're going to be spending this Valor on, and the upgrades for Baleful, BRF, and Mythic Dungeon loot cost 250 each for 5 item levels, and you can upgrade everything a total of twice for a total of 10 item levels. This means that overall you will be able to get like 19-20 upgrades in a single week, but let's be honest, hardly anyone's actually going to do that entire amount of content because that's a lot of work. Anyway, that's the news part of the video done. Let's talk about the 2 points of contention, and not in a crazy manner. We're going to take this nice and chill and step back a bit and actually think about things. So the 2 main points are the lack of a cap and VP coming from LFR but not coming from organized raids. I'm going to start off with the lack of a cap on the Valor. It's got some people feeling like they will be, air quotes, required to do all of the possible content in a given week. Now, for most of us, I don't think that's true. Not everyone's a Mythic Raider, and having the game designed to manage the time of a very small demographic perfectly at the expense of everyone else's is rather silly. So if you look purely at the combination of essentially uncapped VP and then the item upgrades as well, then if you're a Mythic Raider, that's actually a lot of work that you will have to do. From the perspective of, I think, most average players, well, you'll do as much as you feel comfortable doing, for the most part anyway. There is absolutely a risk of people going mad and burning themselves out on just doing as much uncapped VP stuff as they possibly can, sort of similar to the daily quest situation that arose during Mists of Pandaria. Really, if you put the rewards there, people will come, and when you're designing the reward systems for a game, what that's about is, in a way, managing what people are actually going to be doing in your game. Now, my personal take on this is that I don't think it's ideal for heroic and mythic raiders. For, I think, the other people, it's not going to affect your gameplay to a terribly massive degree, past giving you more reasons to do some specific things. Lead designer Ian Hazacostas made some pretty good points on the forum. He said that there is a diminishing return in that you do all of the VP content that you really enjoy and prefer doing first, and then after that happens, you're left with less free time and then less desirable content. This means that it reaches the point where most people have had their fill for a week and they decide to leave it there. Now, that is absolutely true. I would wonder if that feeling of, there's more that I can get, but I just couldn't be bothered. I've got to wonder if that's really the sort of game that you want, or the sort of feeling that you want people to leave your game feeling, because you'll be done for the week and you'll feel shit, or, drat, I've missed out on all this stuff. That's a potential worry, and I'm not sure if that's really the best way to design your game. You never want to design your game around the fact that people will eventually get sick of a certain system and leave. Now, part of that's a little bit hyperbolic, but you kind of get my point there. He also made the quick point that getting enough Valor Points to fully upgrade key slots like trinkets and weapons will be super quick, and that it will matter less over time as you move on to slots like, say, your bracers, which don't really give you as much stats. He also said that past experiences tell them people are better at managing their time, and that saving players from themselves isn't as big a deal as some people make it out to be. Well, you know what? If he has the data, then fair enough. I don't think people save themselves effectively when it comes to the daily situation of Mists of Pandaria, and if what he said is true, then I've got to wonder why they aren't trying something like, say, the heroic dungeon system of Cataclysm, where you would get the bonus VP for your first 7 dungeons of the week rather than your first of every day, essentially meaning you could leave your dungeoning to the weekend and still get a full slew of rewards. I suppose overall, this weird stuff with caps means a higher bar to entry for the ultra-competitive raid scene, because those guilds will expect you to do everything in your power to get an advantage. Sure, 3 extra upgrades doesn't really matter, but if you think about it, that's 3 more upgrades for each of 20 people in a Mythic Raid team. That means the raid's item level has increased by 300. That certainly does matter a lot. Currently, VP matters a lot more to the progression of these high-end guilds, though, because of the upgrade system. If you've got a mythic sword, as an example, that can be upgraded to a higher eye level via VP, then VP really matters. However, normally when an expansion launches, there isn't anything in the way of item upgrades, and VP is used to purchase non-raid catch-up gear. That's still very strong, but not the sort of stuff that's going to matter to guilds who are clearing heroics and mythics every week. So once that happens in Legion, then this issue will probably be diminished, and certainly because of this, I think it may be a pretty okay idea if Legion perhaps wasn't to launch with a full item upgrade system. But again, we know so little about Legion that it's really hard to make a solid call on that at this stage. So the next topic is the really big one. It's the LFR topic, and it's really what I disagree with the most in this patch. So essentially, LFR gives VP, while organized raids do not. If you're a raider who wants to min-max, then this is a system which incentivizes you re-clearing your weekly raids inside LFR, and I think that's very, very silly overall. I assume their logic is that if somebody is a raider, then they'll probably just want to exhaust mythic dungeons first, and that after that's done, there's still going to be content for them to do before they have to enter LFR. I do agree, but I still don't think it's the best design overall. If you wanted to make an ultra-fair system, then just have VP drop from your first boss kill of the week regardless of difficulty. That way everyone wins, and the imbalance that's causing all this fuss is essentially gone. It seems like a very, very easy solution to this problem. Now, Ian did retort to somebody making a similar-ish point by saying the patch is about incentivizing people to do content they haven't really done much lately, and that, for an example, getting geared tanks into LFR absolutely isn't the worst thing. His final point was that if you hate LFR, there's still thousands of other Valor Points available outside of LFR. Everything that he said is true. I just don't think their implementation is perfect. They're valid defenses, but I still don't think it's perfect. I think there's definitely room for improvement, as there generally is with things. If you make VP drop per boss, as I said, the whole problem's just diminished. Yeah, sure, maybe if someone's 8 out of 12 in HFC, they'll still have to go and do that last LFR wing, but it does diminish the problem quite a bit. I suppose there is also something which slightly worries me about the mentality of one of his closing sentences, but I want to make the point that he isn't actually here to clarify, and it's all too easy to read words, then assume somebody's intent, and then basically hang them by rope that you have invented. It's not a fair way to debate with people at all. In fact, it's not a debate. They're not there to retort the points that you make. So I see people do that a lot, and it really, really, really sucks. Just thought I'd make that point. Anyway, he said that much of the patch is about getting people to do stuff that they haven't had much of a reason to do. Now, they're doing that by stuffing the things full of rewards. With much of Warlords of Draenor, we've seen this game design mentality that's systems first, content second, in terms of how to get people to play the game. It's like, yeah, look, okay, right, the content, maybe there's not enough of it, but if we put enough loot systems in, then sure, people will be really excited. But I don't think that's actually worked in terms of the sub numbers. It's so late on in the expansion that I think it's reasonable for this patch not really to add much new content, but I just hope that's really something that doesn't carry into the future. Moving forward into Legion, I think they should definitely have a second thought about a lot of the specifics of the way the Valor Points are actually going, but that said, this is a VP system that is pretty much designed around the idea of item upgrades being a thing. When Legion launches, there may or may not be item upgrades, but also there's going to be, well, most likely anyway, bits of gear that you get via VP, just like it's been in pretty much every other patch or part of an expansion that has had Valor Points, or anything similar like, say, Badges of Justice. I suspect that this specific implementation is not what we're going to get at the start of Legion, because I don't think it would make a lot of sense for the start of the expansion. So overall, while this is maybe indicative of we want dungeons to matter more, and we want currency to be involved with dungeons, I don't think it's really going to map one-to-one onto how they do it during Legion. I mean, hell, there's a lot of people throwing something up about the LFR stuff. We don't even know how LFR is going to be in Legion, so for now, I don't think it's something to really worry about that much, other than they do have a good mentality of making dungeons matter more. That's pretty much it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.